Today, we are diving into a story that is just so powerful, Alphonse Dodot's The Last Lesson. It's all about loss, identity, and the real power that our words, our language, holds. But first, just think about this for a second. Seriously, imagine waking up tomorrow and being told, that's it. You're forbidden from speaking or learning in your native tongue. How would that even feel? Well, that exact gut punch is what this story is all about. All right, so here's how we're going to unpack this whole thing. We'll start with a really unsettling morning where things just feel off. Then we get to the thunderclap announcement that changes everything. We'll see how this one class becomes a lesson for a lifetime. We'll dig into this incredible idea of language being the key to their prison. And finally, we'll talk about why this story, this lesson, really sticks with you. So our story kicks off through the eyes of this young boy named Franz. And right from the get-go, you can tell this isn't just a normal day. So, meet Franz. He's a pretty typical kid, you know? He's late for school, he hasn't done his homework on participles, and frankly, he'd much rather just skip and enjoy the warm, sunny day. He's completely in his own world, totally clueless that his life is about to change forever. Now, it's so important to understand the setting here. This isn't just any town. We're in Alsace, a French region that's just been taken over by Prussia during the Franco-Prussian War. So those soldiers Franz sees, they're the occupying force. They're a constant, looming reminder that their freedom is gone. This whole historical backdrop is what gives the story its incredible weight. And as Franz is rushing to school, he sees something that gives him a bad feeling. A crowd of people huddled around the town bulletin board. You see, for the last 2 years, that board has delivered nothing but bad news. Lost battles, new orders, you name it. And he can't help but think, oh no, what is it now? The weirdness just keeps building when he gets to the school. Normally, it's total chaos, right? A great bustle you can hear from the street. But today, it's silent. Creepily quiet, like a Sunday morning. The usual noise he counts on to sneak in late just isn't there. Something feels very, very wrong. And now we're in the classroom where that strange, quiet feeling is about to explode into a moment that changes absolutely everything. This is the thunderclap. His teacher, M. Hamel, who's strangely dressed in his Sunday best, drops the bomb. He says, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine." For Franz, he says these words were like a thunderclap. And in that one single moment, it all makes sense. The silence, the sad faces, the village elders sitting in the back of the room, it all clicks into place in the most heartbreaking way. And the change in Franz is instantaneous. All those times he skipped class, all the lessons he ignored, a wave of regret just washes over him. His books, which were just a heavy nuisance moments ago, suddenly feel like old friends he's about to lose. He doesn't even think about his teacher's temper anymore. And he finally understands why the old villagers are there. They've come to say thank you and to say goodbye to a way of life that's being stolen from them. You know, this last lesson, it stops being about grammar. It becomes about everything, about belonging, about identity, and about what you lose when you take things for granted. What's so amazing here is that M. Hamel doesn't just blame the kids. He says they all have something to be ashamed of. He calls out the parents who sent their kids to work instead of school, and he even blames himself for giving them days off to go fishing. It's this incredibly honest moment of shared responsibility, of admitting they all put it off for tomorrow. And then he gives this beautiful, passionate tribute to his language. He doesn't just say it's nice, he calls it the most beautiful language in the world, the clearest, the most logical. You can just feel the pride and the heartbreak in his voice. It's his way of fighting back, of holding on to their identity. The imagery in the scene is just wow. For their very last writing exercise, M. Hamel gives them copies with the words France, Alsace, written beautifully on them, and Franz says they look like little flags floating all over the schoolroom. It's this quiet, powerful act of patriotism, right there in the classroom. This all leads us to the central theme of the story, this powerful idea that your language is a kind of freedom. So let's just pause for a second. When we talk about linguistic identity, we're talking about something huge. It's not just the words you use. Your language is your history, it's your culture, it's a part of who you are. To lose it, well, that's like losing a piece of your soul. And this is the line. This is the heart of M. Hamel's last lesson. He tells them, when a people are enslaved, As long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Think about that metaphor. They can take your land, they can take your freedom, but if you hold onto your language, you hold onto your identity. You keep the flame of your culture alive. It's a form of resistance that can't be stamped out. And now we're at the very end of the story. A final farewell that is so powerful precisely because it's almost completely silent. The end arrives right on schedule. The church clock strikes noon, and at that exact same instant, you hear the trumpets of the Prussian soldiers marching back from their drills. The two sounds clash, the end of the school day and the end of their whole world as they knew it. Hamel gets to his feet, looking pale and, to Franz, taller than he's ever seemed before. He opens his mouth to speak, but he's so choked with emotion that he can't. The words just won't come out. So he turns his back to them, picks up a piece of chalk, and with all the strength he has left, he gives them his final message. He writes as large as he possibly can on the blackboard, "Vive la France, long live France." Then he just rests his head against the wall, and without saying a word, he gestures with his hand, "School is dismissed, you may go." It's just this final, silent, defiant act of patriotism, absolutely gut-wrenching. And that leaves us with this really important question to think about. This story happened a long, long time ago, but its message couldn't be more relevant today. It makes you wonder, what happens to linguistic minorities all over the world? And how do people hold on to that key to their prison, their culture, their identity, when everything around them is trying to erase it? It's something we should all think about.